Hello again, dear ones. Another week has gone by and we're still here. We've been playing this month with the idea of that classic Kool and the Gang song of celebration. And this is our title today is another line from that song. And we've watched that, and I hope it's been kind of rumbling around in your brain a little bit. And as we come into the third week of the month with this idea that everything's going to be all right, well, I know most of you, well, I'm sure you know the song, and I'm assuming most of you kind of let that line rumble through your mind a little this week as well. If you're like me, yeah, you heard Bob Marley instead of Kool and the Gang. And all week long, every time I thought about this idea of everything's going to be all right, it comes back to not Kool and the Gang, but Bob Marley. Everything's going to be all right. I want us as a society, I wish for us as a society to look to that aspect of life that says everything is going to be all right. And we make jokes about this in the New Thought movement. I don't I can never find the source for what we're about to share, but it's been said that everything works out in the end, and if everything isn't working out, then it's not the end. And what I want us to be in is not it is in a place where we're recognizing that in the moment by moment of our lives, that everything is all right now. I don't have to wait for my good. I don't have to wait for a sign. I don't have to wait for an epiphany. I don't have to wait for words to be blazed across the sky in letters of flame that tell me what to do and how to be a part of this thing called life. See, again, this month we're celebrating our lives as a community, as the vision of a community, as the promise of a community. I've shared this with you all before, and I want to keep sharing it, is that this little, not really a light bulb, that are the crystals that were sitting on your altars and on for so long, and it sits right here on my desk as a reminder of the infinite possibilities that are available to us. And it actually acts like a kaleidoscope when I hold it up to the sun just right. And all these little crystals reflecting themselves into each other and off of each other and around each other. I'm pretty sure if I actually screwed this into a light, the electricity would conduct and it would light up. Don't worry, I'm not going to try that. Well, maybe if I had a lamp out in the backyard somewhere, but I'm not going to try that. But I have this vision of that's what's happening here. We are lighting a lamp that says everything is all right, no matter what. And in that all right, well, I think we have a great opportunity as individuals and as an organization to to really prove the principles that we say we stand on, to truly demonstrate the values that we hold, to live a vision and a mission of a community, well, as we've already started to talk about, represents a beloved community. And part of that is some really Well, all right, let's get right to the punch. How about it? In order for that to happen, we are each going to have to surrender at a very, very deep level. Now, part of how we do that, and we're not going to do a book study just yet, and I'm going to talk about this for a while before we start to try to implement anything. But there is a documented process of how we can go about allowing for a recreation of this sacred community, this sacred Sangha. This community has always been looking beyond the edge. Your very first name, New Horizons, points us to that. Looking beyond the edge of what we know into that which we do not know, the mystery of our own personal development, the mystery of how we serve our friends and our neighbors and each other, and the mystery of how we create beloved community, sacred Sangha. Now, I think as I look at this room, most of us in this room know this is what's going on. We have an idea this is happening. I think everybody here is already signed up and said yes for the journey that we're embarking upon. And my desire is to provide you with some inspiration, with some tools, with some ideas, with a different way of looking at it, and how we get to, well, the demonstration of a vision that we cannot yet fully articulate. You with me there? We are working towards a vision whose end, if you will, we cannot yet fully articulate. But that does imply that we can partially articulate, that we can begin to share, if only with ourselves, but I trust with others, this vision of what we believe we're building towards. It might change, it might be different, but ultimately, this has been a community of love. And I think that is the strongest basis for all of it. And what we're going to learn is that the word surrender does not mean that we are giving up. It does not mean what many of us maybe had brought up to believe. It's not raising a white flag. It's not putting down the guns. Thankfully, I believe we've all put down the guns a long time ago, and we're not prepared to pick them back up again, and that's good. That's another talk some other day. We're here to surrender into what wants to be, to let ourselves go. I'm not real big on water, running water, rushing water, not a water sports kind of guy. And yet there is something, and I've gotten to that point a few times where I'm able to be in the water and feel that passage, that flow, and to recognize that I am supported, of floating even. Now, usually for me, that's where panic and anxiety sets in, and then I start to thrash about, and it all falls apart, and that's just, my personal challenge. But there's that brief moment where I feel what it is that other people just love, just cannot get enough of. That sense of support, but movement, that rushing water that flows and that we can flow with, or we can strengthen ourselves by moving against or in resistance to. I encourage each one of us to find a time each and every day to really let go of what we think we should be doing, of what somebody else has told us I should be doing, to let go of any sense of hustle and bustle or I don't have the time. And I want you to all to know this is not something you schedule. For all my left brain thinkers that want to put this on your calendar and say this is going to be my 15 minutes of letting go every day. Nope, sorry, doesn't work that way. It's not how this is going to happen. What I'm going to ask you to do is whenever it strikes you, whenever it's, oh, this could be a good time, or, oh, this would be the worst time to do that thing. No, that's probably jumps in your mind because that would be a better time to do it than not. But find yourself just 5 minutes. I'm going to say 10, but just go 5. 5 minutes to let go of any concerns about what's happening in your life and just be open to what wants to be. What wants to be in my life? We already know it's going to be all right. We've heard that promise. We know it's going to be all right at the end. We know life's going to get better. We know it's going to be all right, but that's only if we do the work. This is how we do the work. 5 minutes a day. Yes, you have to start today. And I will make you a deal. If you get to next Saturday and this feels like it is not working, then you get to do 10 minutes on Saturday. And if you get to next Saturday and you wake up and you feel like, man, this is really working, then you get to double it and do 10 minutes. You get to take your 5 and double it and do 10. I'm being silly. Thank you. The origins of this community are religious science. And I believe you were each here, whether you maybe are conscious of it or not, are here because you are exactly that. You are a religious scientist. Now, what that means is we create a hypothesis, we experiment, and then we share our results. My hypothesis in this is that if you do this practice religiously for the next 6 days, 7 days, start today, finish on Saturday. If you do this practice religiously, you will change your life. You will change your outlook on life. You will change something about your life. And then you get to choose how you want to report your findings, your results. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to experiment a little bit more. Maybe you want to adjust your hypothesis a little bit more. Maybe you want to make your 5 minutes 7.5 minutes just to make it a little crazy and a little spicy on Wednesdays and Fridays. I don't, however, but what we come to is what works for you. To open up and to be in a constant flow of allowing a conversation of what wants to be and us surrendering into this is what is. This is what's happening. But we never lose sight of what we're being called to be. You all with me? Okay, good. Seeing more of this, not seeing much of this. That's a good sign. You all know that joke by now. So we have to be, and I believe we are, I believe as a community, we're ready to take the celebration and use that energetic vibration of celebration into the everyday parts of our lives, the places where we haven't yet integrated that sense of celebration. I don't want you to go too deep or too far, but I'm sure if you dig, there's something that you're just not happy about right now. There's something going on in life that you might like a little more light around. You might like to bring um so a sense of lightness or levity or something you just want to get rid of completely or something that just has to change. Bring that forward. Remind yourself that everything's going to be all right because it's not the end. Everything's going to be all right. And then we ask ourselves, what wants to be here? What is it that wants to reveal itself that leads me to a greater experience of this thing called life? We come back to the experiment. If it doesn't work, we create a new hypothesis. If it does, we're back to one of my favorite refrains. The quality of our lives are directly proportional to the quality of our questions. So what wants to happen here? What am I surrendering into in order to become more, something greater, something expansive? I encourage you, um, again, this is not going to be a formal book study anytime soon. But if you're the reading type, I do encourage you to take a look at the surrender experiment. You can see there's a lot of tags sticking out, right? Um, those aren't mine. Those are Laura's. I've got all the places where there are now some of them overlap. Some of them overlap because I like to circle an arrow and ink up my books, but there is a place here that overlaps, and I want you to hear this. Um, Surrender. What an amazing word. It often engenders the thought of weakness and cowardice. In this case, it required all the strength I had to be brave enough to follow the invisible into the unknown. And that is exactly what I'm doing. It's not that surrender gave me clarity about where I was going. I had no idea where it would lead me. But surrender did give me clarity in one essential area. My personal preferences of like and dislike were not going to guide my life any longer. By surrendering the hold of those forces on me, I allowed my life to be guided by a much more powerful force, life itself. And I would add love. You can catch all the details of the story of what happens and the author's experience, but I believe that that is our experience as well. Each individual comes to a place where we let go of the likes and the dislikes so we can be open to what wants to happen. And we can surrender into the flow of divinity, of the greatness, of the oneness that is all life. Dear friend of mine, and many of you may have heard this, um, loves the Tao and loves to share that concept that we come from greatness, we are greatness, and we create greatness. I believe we're in that stage as individuals and a community where it's time to create from love, a beloved community, a sacred Sangha. We're here to create the proof that this stuff really works. And the working of it is surrendering in what wants to be. If you're in a safe enough place to close your eyes, I invite you to please do so. Join me in a prayer of surrender. For it is here that we've come together in the one, as the one, to experience the one, to recognize there is only one. one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence that moves and breathes and has its being as all of life. One self-existent cause that is forever taking on form and experience in order to release those forms, to let go of those experiences so there may be room for more forms, more experience, newness in our lives. This one power, presence, and intelligence enacts itself, engenders itself, reveals itself as all of life, every form, every expression, every embodiment of life, part of this oneness, this thing we call God. So I know right here that God, the oneness of life, is operating as my life perfectly, as your life perfectly, as all life perfectly. This oneness revealing itself in amazing ways, glorious ways. And what I've learned is that as I push and pull against the flow of the divine, I may become stronger in my resistance, but it is in the suppleness, the flexibility of the surrender that we find true strength, that we find the path of becoming, we find the path, the journey of enlightenment. So I invite each one that hears these words to energetically, in a soft and gentle way, enter into the surrender. Letting go of the likes and the dislikes, letting go of what should be or could be, letting go of how it's been done or any of that. To surrender into a glorious vision for the collective, for the beloved community, for the sacred Sangha. It begins in my own heart, and I invite each one here to feel that vibration of the oneness radiating from the heart out into the universe, out into the world. The pulsation of your heartbeat, lifting the vibration of consciousness around this planet together, collectively. We are becoming one. And in that oneness, we reveal love in a greater and greater and greater way. As that oneness, we let go and serve a higher order, a higher vision with love and so much more. I claim for each one here a sense of that inner vision, knowing that as we hold these visions to truth, as we hold these visions in our mind, we are creating a sacred vibration that by the very laws of the universe must come into form. As we loose this prayer into that creative medium of the universe, it must come to form in some way. And what I know is I knew the universal power, presence, and intelligence is already operating upon this prayer, already operating upon these words. So I can again get out of the way, surrender into what wants to be, and let go of the forcing, let go of the positioning, let go of anything that denies this vision of a sacred community, a sacred Sangha, a beloved community of global proportion. And it all begins with each one of us. It's from this sacred yes that I am grateful. And it is from that gratitude that I release the word into the law that is already acting upon it and already making it so. If you join me in an affirmation of this truth, we say together, and so it is.
And so it is.